What's up, truth tellers? I need all my day ones to smash the like button and drop truth tellers in the chat so we can see you. I see you, Damon Foster. I see you, Rita DeGraff and Reed, every night in the show. Are you team Torrey? Are you team Doc? Are you team Givers? Are you team Judge Lauren Lake? Listen, you better be team lovers. That's all I got to say. We appreciate your support week to week, and we're happy you're here. Just drop it in the chat for us so we know. But tonight, we talking about single Black fathers. It's a very rarely celebrated and barely understood topic on here in the world, just not here, but here in the world. Often labeled as absent, assumed irresponsible, or simply erased from the story altogether. But what about Black fathers who stay? The ones who fight for custody, who wipe the tears, who cook the meals, who show up to the games, the ones like me. You know what I'm saying? Like me, like Torrey. What about us? And still get labeled deadbeat. Tonight on Truth Talks, we're breaking the silence and busting the myths around what it really means to be a Black father in America. So tap in, family, hit the subscribe button on Truth Talks Live and buckle up, because this is Truth Talks.
Are y'all ready to roll? Let's go.
All right, Truth Tellers, tonight's show is about single Black fathers. We have one here, Dimitri Wiley. Welcome to the show.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for giving me my moment of glory and my time to shine.
We have the single Black mother and amazing legal mind, my friend Ebony K. Williams. How are you?
Excellent, dear sir. Hope you are.
And Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is also here.
Dimitri, you could have introduced me. Y'all know on True Talks. Hold on, producers. Y'all know the last person I want to introduce me is Torrey. Y'all got to switch that up when he introduces me.
I will say the sweater is fire. I definitely respect the outfit today.
Thank you.
Thank sure.
You. It's just as cool as your curls. You put product in today. Hair maniacs.
Carol's daughter every day. Come on. I live with Carol's daughter. I can't later. Lisa's the one making me look good, making the 3C look good. So try to keep up, Cheyenne. We'll get you there one day.
Let's move 3C, Ebony. 3C.
It's another day in social media land where Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is catching heat, not just on this show, but in social media world. Wow. I wish that woman would be on our show. Jesus Christ, look at her. Let's take a look at what Joe Budden had to say about our good doc on Paul Pierce's show.
We just don't know enough about this young lady. She popped up. She's doing her shit. She's doing content creation. She's on TV. She's on reality shows. She's in all of our Black content spaces. Mm-hmm. But let's just learn more about her is all. So not even 2 weeks later, she is on with Paul Pierce. He's doing the Lord's work right now, is he?
Wow. His red pajamas and feel
But
like
know what's funny about this? I'm trying to find a way to pause it. Know what's funny about this? Look, for all that big cash money shit she be talking, she can't even see this
at all.
She can't.
No, I think this is what I'm assuming. I think when she gets on most public stages, most people have a certain level of reverence and respect that they not trying to ask you, yo, so the dick is good. She was like, what? She didn't think he was going to say no shit like that. Most people not going, if Melissa goes on somebody's show, they don't be like, Mel, when the last time you got some good dick? Like, people not going to ask you that. So I think he blindsided her with some of the questions that he's asking, and she wasn't prepared for it.
Yeah, just on some hood booger shit.
Yeah. She wasn't prepared for it.
I think that what happened, because I would want to question her, like, what did you think was going to happen when you went on Paul Pierce's fucking podcast?
That's called the truth.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. I think that what she thought was going to happen, and this is just my thinking. Assumption. I think that it would have gone, by way of her thinking, it would have gone the same way that her being on Cam Newton's show and Nick Cannon's show. She ran those interviews.
She did.
You know what I'm saying? And she came out smelling like roses out of them, and she kind of like, mopped the floor with them a little bit.
Doc, wait, what happened on Paul Pierce's show that they're talking about? What did he ask you?
So, first of all, I mopped the floor with Paul Pierce as well in that show. I give information that I want to give to create the narrative that I want to create. And for folks like Joe Budden, and I'm not going to say Paul, because Paul knew what was going on because he was present with me on set on his show, Truth After Dark. And so point of what I'm saying is for Joe Budden and these folks who are journalists and are so good at what they do, they should understand that a person who is a good interviewee is going to control their narrative. And so what happened on the show was Paul and I, and Azar, his other beautiful co-host, we were having an interview, and I was, in his words, therapizing them. I had already kind of, gave them their coaching and their therapizing in his words. And then he said, Doc, I want to now ask you some questions. He asked me, are you dating? Are you single? That's all he asked. Then I said, yeah, I'm single, but I'm dating. And there's been a young guy who I have, I use the word spin the block with for the past 5 years, meaning I come in when I want to date him and deal with him. And when I don't, I don't. And I said, it's very transparent and he understands that. He knows that this is not no manipulative tactic of he thinks there's going to be something more. He wants marriage. He wants commitment. He knows I don't want that at this moment. And we have our own agreement. And this is what we do. It's our dynamic. So Paul says, so what you're saying is he's pretty much your work and the dick must be good. Yes.
He asked you that question, is the D good?
He asked that question. And so what I did was, I purposely laughed and said, I'm not vitamin D deficient, because we were having a vitamin D deficient conversation prior to the interview. You see your face, Touré? So this is what's funny, is that people always talk about information and narratives and clickbait and people going viral, okay? When you do what I do for a living, which is not media, my for a living of 17 years is I've been a psychology expert, started off as a therapist, and then went into a life coach, okay? And with my personality, I know exactly how to drive things because I'm used to having to drive things in sessions with people to help them get to the root of their issues, to help them see things that they need to see for their awareness. I also know how to drive my interviews because that particular clip went viral. Now, everybody's trying to figure out who is this young guy she's dating. Everyone is having a whole conversation around it. And it got Paul Pierce and them the highest views, the highest rating, on their show, on our clips. And guess what that does? For anyone who knows media, while these journalists are acting so freaking dumb at a job they think they're so good at, that is the whole point of having a podcast. Is interviews that would spike an audience's view and cause engagement. So I did exactly what I was supposed to do.
Your answer was fantastic. And it was sharp and it's witty. And you definitely controlled that moment and took back your power and refused to be embarrassed or ashamed.
Yeah.
Okay? Full stop. His question is completely inappropriate and obnoxious and ridiculous. And I think that you responded well is a separate question from the question should never have been asked. And I don't care that you're out here for clicks or I want you to deal with that part of it for me.
Well, let me say this, Touré. So love that you said that. I agree to a certain extent. I see your face, Ebony, because I also agree with you saying, well, should it have not been asked? So you have to understand, Touré. Melissa Ford said it. She said it great. I have been literally mopping these dudes on every interview. Okay, there has been I am 10 for 10. I've been in the NFL 10 years. I got 10 Super Bowls to these people who are watching these interviews. Okay, I'm not saying that I do. I'm saying from the folks watching it. So Touré, when I go on your platform, do you not understand that your job is to try to come for me because I have mopped everybody else? So you want to be the first pioneer to say, Doc didn't mop me. Doc didn't get me. So I understand that too, as a person who actually has a brain, that every platform I go on, especially if it's a man and a man who has a more dominant alpha personality, his goal is not to interview me. His goal is to see if he can crack the Doc. I understand that. So you think myself and my team are not setting up interviews with strong personality alpha men like Paul Pierce, Nick Cannon, Cam Newton, thinking that one, I can't handle it. Two, I'm not going to mop their ass as well. And three, that I'm not going to give pertinent information that I know is going to tee them up to do what I want it to do.
Dimitri,
very simple.
I appreciate Dr. Bryant's ability to take these situations and make them work for her. I don't like the other people she's working with approaching the conversation as a competition and a chance to break her. I don't invite her or anyone on your platform to try to make them look stupid. Like, you know what I mean? And when you come into Truth Talks or whatever I'm doing, I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to walk away happy. I'm not trying to ask the question that fucks you up, that makes you look stupid. And I think that was a clear attempt to try to make her look bad.
Yeah, I think that's this generation we're living in. Nothing moves faster than positivity but negativity. So if I can bring her on my show and show you guys she's a different element other than what she's told the world, you are going to now view my show as exactly what Doc said. But what people don't realize is what happens is the next person is going to reach out to her and say, now I need you to come explain yourself on whatever platform. And then she ends up on a bigger platform. But the thing about it is we really have to look at the host of the show. This is Paul Pierce, the same man who said, I'll walk, I think it was probably 12, 13 miles to the studio because he lost a gambling bet with no shoes on. This is a bet he made. He's always been a radical risk taker. So the moment he get the camera turned on, he already got you in a seat. He's going to take that risk. I think, like you said, Touré, I don't like it either from the narrative of the people being worked with, but I think he did it more for male validation from the world than he actually did it for views on his show. He did it for Cam. He did it for Nick. He did it for everybody she's went and mopped the floor with. And that's a male ego. That's a question driven by a male ego. That's just my opinion.
I think that's right, Ebony. And I think it's kind of gross to have Paul say, look what she did on this show. Look what she did on that show. I'm going to get her. I mean, it's totally an attempt to slut shame her.
I don't think it was gross or inappropriate. I'm fascinated by this take of yours, only because we've both been in the business since Jesus. So while it's very good natured and well intended, this is the dynamic, Touré. So let me speak as a fellow woman who particular subsets of our male peers find particularly triggering. Okay. When Dr. Bryant shows up on these platforms, Cam's show, Nick's show, et cetera, and she does what she does so effortlessly, so brilliantly, this poses a direct threat. This is very threatening to a very real subset of male podcasters, okay? And frankly, the male community, right? Dimitri's nodding. So you're right. They are seeing this as an opportunity to bait her, to shame her, and to prove their ability to dominate her, okay? But this unleashes the genius of Dr. Bryant. This is nothing more than an opportunity for her to further demonstrate the complexity. See, you saw it in Joe Budden's setup. And full disclosure, for those that don't know, I worked with Joe for a couple of years at Revolt when we co-hosted a show called State of the Culture. So I'm familiar. I also really, really do this shit, right? So Joe's setup indicated how threatening he sees her position. How do we know this? He at length talks about how she's deferred to, how she's presented with prestige and deferential energy in these spaces, and he doesn't like it. So he was all too excited to be able to celebrate the takedown of the deference and the dethroning of the positioning. This is wonderful, Touré. Don't cry for us, Argentina. This is a great thing for women like Dr. Bryant and myself, because it only serves to further prove, to further demonstrate why we really are the bitches we say we are. Okay.
Hold on, sis. Hold on. Rewind. Say that one more time. I'm listening.
It only goes to further show you that we really are that bitch we say we are. This happened to me many times on the Breakfast Club. Who lovely. Those are my friend, colleague friendly. But what you say, envy. Oh, that's what I said. What I said, envy. It happens on Love Them as well. Earn Your Leisure. Oh, I'm very familiar. You're not educating me on, I'm 40 plus and the wall we're supposed to hit. But Mr. Earl says I'm still a pretty young thing, so it's cool. You know what I mean? So we're just well versed in it, Touré. And I don't want you to feel that we are victims of this behavior.
Come on.
titans.
I mean, she's not a victim because she handled it well.
But hear this, Torre. We built it. Like she said, we built the narrative. We built the aesthetic. We built all components of it just for this exact scenario, and it works out perfectly.
No, I mean that she's able to handle a moment of disrespect and make it work for her and have a great answer doesn't solve the problem that the brother. I
disagree with your premise. I disagree fundamentally, Torre, with your premise. It is not a disrespect. It is an opportunity to unleash the mastery. See, we don't get to totally flex. Am I right, Dr. Bryant?
Come on.
The complete scope of the mastery when you leave us just being the smart lawyer. When you leave us just being the smart psychologist. No, baby. You must see the mastery of what we are truly creating. And we only get to do that when the likes of the good Joe Buddens of the world, the good Paul Pierces of the world, the good Stephen A. Smiths of the world, Charlemagne, give us these opportunities.
You did an epic interview with me on my podcast about 2 years ago when you were going into your baby journey.
Yes.
Weren't pregnant yet, but had your plans. I didn't ask you anything that I wouldn't say in front of my mother or my grandmother, but we had a deep
taste. That's your taste, Torre. But you did ask some things if we really want to. Let's just go there because, we family now. There were some things that you your digs just aren't dick digs. Let's be clear. You don't do dick digs, Torre.
Yeah, you don't do dick digs, Torre.
Yeah.
But you do digs. You digged on my politics and how I can have tolerance for people that are not particularly left of center. Yeah, you do digs. You just don't do dick digs, so your respectability looks different than some of these.
Yeah, and I want to add to that because she made a point, Torre. You're trying to compare yourself, potatoes to apples, right? Yourself, who is obviously a family man. You've been married, I've heard you say 20 plus years. You have all your kids with your beautiful wife, right? You respect and honor your wife and woman. You respect and honor your kids. So your mindset and where you're coming from is very different. You're trying to compare what someone of your caliber would do versus someone who has multiple baby mamas, who is a man who preys on women, who is a man who needs to make sure he's with a woman who is less than, a woman who would allow him to dominate her, because then that means he has no ego if he can't. A man who holds only his value on being high value, but a low fucking functioning at its fucking peak. A man who cannot regulate his emotion. A man who can sit only with a woman who he feels he can actually sound, not be like he's educated, but is not at all. A woman who he feels like if I get Dr. Bryant on here and I can even get a little edge on her, then maybe that'll make me look like the dude I've been trying to say I am with this NBA contract. But without that contract, I'm just a regular ass nigga in the hood who's low functioning, a baby daddy, broken homes, broken families, horrible decisions. And now I get to sit across a woman who has 10 for 10 Super Bowls and attempt to see if I can make one touchdown on her. That is a low budget, low functioning ass man. You cannot even compare yourself to them, Torre. And I don't like you 99% of the time. But there's no comparison.
I absolutely agree with you guys. I think, Tori, we sometimes we viewing it from our angle. Like it was said here recently, it's the difference between journalism and actual podcasting. You can give anybody a mic. Anybody with an opinion can get a mic, but that doesn't make them correct. That doesn't mean they're fishing for the information the correct way. But what I do know is that we ask, is Dr. Bryant on fire or is she in fire? But fire and fire just makes more fire. She can be both. Both can be true at the same time. And both can be genuine for her to flourish at the same time. I wouldn't see it as a negative perspective, more so, but what I do view so negatively is the idea that men in our space tend to feed on women falling short, tend to feed on tearing women down. And it's amazing me, but I think Dr. Bryan summed it up the best I've heard it. You have a weak man who's weak in his own mind, and he's viewing it to the idea that, okay, if there's a powerful woman, I'm now intimidated. He wants Dr. Bryant's voice. He wants that power in the culture. And that's something Paul Pierce has never had. If you looked at the actual root of Paul Pierce and Joe Budden, you look at these people and see who they compared themselves to. Joe Budden hate Drake for the exact same reason. He's not. It's envy. Envy lives in these people and it flourishes them and pushes them in these spaces.
Last thing, do you think that it would be possible in the current world that we live in, misogyny and all that, for Doc to just answer the question, yes?
Well, I was going to say, it was so funny to me because, well, of course the dick is good. The woman essentially said so, right? Subtextually, see, this actually goes to show the lack of intelligent cognitive ability of Paul Pierce. Because when she says the main thing he wants is marriage and commitment, I'm not available for that, yet I continue to deal with him on a choice basis, it's called deductible reasoning. Do we recall this skill in school? The dick must be good because that gives us the exact reason she's still dealing with him. Come on, somebody.
Girl, when you so on fire, sis, I had to drink my water.
But she said it in an intelligent way that she could say in front of her mother. And he said it in a disgusting way that was meant to embarrass her. I appreciate it.
But that was the point. That was the beauty. Yes. He failed to embarrass her, right?
Yes. Okay. This has been beautiful. All the Dr. Bryant fans will be thrilled to hear.
Say what you said again. Repeat that end part. That was so good. Say it one more time.
I don't remember what I said, but we're moving on. All the Dr. Bryant fans will be thrilled to hear that Truth Talks is going to do a special one-on-one with our favorite doc so you can see why she's so coveted, the interview skills that she has, controlling the narrative. We're going to see all that right on this show. Moving on to politicking, let's welcome Dr. Frita, the Truth Talks medical expert, to talk about Trump's fat ass cankles.
Glad to be here.
Dr. Frita, please talk about how spinning the block and having it your way on your terms is healthy on your mental health, and healthy on your mental health means physically your body will be right on track. Let's talk about that too.
Absolutely. It decreases stress, which of course is good for your mental and your physical health. So spin away. Spin is cardio also.
What do you think about his ankles in our politicking segment, Dr. Frita?
His ankles are on my nerves. His ankles are fat, but they're not fat enough to cover up these Epstein files, these Medicaid cuts. It's a distraction, but it's a real condition. So we'll talk about it. Let
Frita ring. Look, the right had all the smoke for Joe Biden's gait and his wobbly walk when he was the president, but the commander in chief has revealed that he's got swollen, fat ass, discolored ankles from a disease called chronic venous insufficiency. He's got all sorts of insufficiencies in that body. Somebody get this man some Epsom salt before them ankles get deported. Oh my God. That's disgusting. This is just freaking huge. Oh my God. Okay. Look, Dr. Frita, Trump clowned Biden for being too old to lead. And now he's out here announcing mystery conditions. He's obese. He is 79 years old. What is specifically going on with these disgusting, gigantic ankles?
Okay, so he does have chronic venous insufficiency. Nice long word. I've had a lot of my subscribers ask me, oh, is it serious? Is it going to take him out? The answer is no. It's no. It's not life-threatening. It is a condition. But with this administration, I'm always looking at what is being covered because there has been a lack of transparency. So chronic venous insufficiency just means that in your veins, you have certain valves that help to keep the blood pumping towards your heart. And if those valves stop working well, then blood can pool in your legs and your ankles. You can get some bruising, some discoloration, some swelling, which is what he has. 1 in 20 people will have it. It's pretty common, not life-threatening. There are treatments. And one of the biggest risk factors for getting chronic venous insufficiency is getting old, okay? He's over 70, pushing 80, and so that's the risk factor. I'm more curious about the other pieces of his medical condition that aren't being talked about as much. So the bruising. The White House has stated that he has bruising because of all the handshaking. We know Melania didn't do it because she doesn't even hold the man's hand. But why does he have bruising? Well, that takes me back to the number one cause of chronic venous insufficiency, which is actually blood clots, right? Now, blood clots are more serious. Blood clots can go to the heart, to the lungs, and they can actually take you out, okay? They can make you be unalive. But no one has mentioned him having blood clots, but we do know by this administration, it would be possible for him to have something more serious, but then show us the thing that still makes him look pretty strong, pretty young. But bottom line, chronic insufficiency, very treatable, pretty common. It won't take him out, but there's something else I believe going on that's not being really disclosed. Not to mention, this is a big, hey, look over there for a condition that's really not that serious.
You think there's something else, that this is a distraction from what the real medical problem is?
I absolutely do. And of course, I don't know this for sure, but just based on numbers, again, blood clots are the number one cause of chronic venous insufficiency. If you have blood clots, then you'll need to take blood thinners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things like warfarin, Coumadin. If you're taking blood thinners, now that would make your hands really susceptible to being bruised, even with light touch. So again, they're all coming out. The press secretary, he's got chronic venous insufficiency, and she's saying it like it's just some big life-threatening deal, when honestly, it's a common condition that happens to older people, and it's just something in the headlines to keep us distracted from the things I believe that really count.
But Dr. Frita, is he at increased risk for stroke or heart attack based on?
Well, not just based on chronic venous insufficiency alone, but based on his age. We know that heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States. And we know that him having his weight, being obese, living with obesity, puts him at risk for heart disease, for strokes, for many other things. And we've seen in the past when he's had a major condition, i.e. COVID, how he got out of that hospital, he had low oxygen, could barely walk, could barely breathe, but he stood up and showed all of this strength. And he talked about Joe Biden from needing a shot in his behind. Yes, he's at the hugest risk for those things, heart attacks and strokes. And he has admitted to having high cholesterol, which is a huge risk factor for clogging the arteries. So I believe he shared an honest, pretty benign, pretty non-exciting condition with the long fancy name, just to cover up some things that are really going on, not only in politics, but possibly with his health.
What's the chance that he just drops dead in the next couple of years?
It's low. It's low. It's low based on chronic venous insufficiency. Plus, my grandma said it's the evil people who live the longest. So I'm sorry to Ray. He's going to be alive a long time.
Ebony, you think about like his policies are blocking working class elders from getting therapy for the same condition. So you're like, is he actually fit to lead the nation when he lacks the empathy to care for people who have the same problem that he has?
Well, we know he's unfit in every way. So that's not a serious question, right? Of course, he's horrific. And, you know, I heard the same old tale as well, Dr. Frita. You know, it's the nasty, mean ass, trifling MFers that just can't get away from him. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's why you're going to live forever, Cheyenne. What you want to say?
Oh. Look, Touré.
Got him, girl. Got him, girl.
Hopefully, yeah, I'm with you.
Got him, girl.
Hopefully at that age, things will still be spinning the block and working, because you know what? To Ebony's point, the good deed will have you living a long, good life. So I think I'm in good company. I think I'm in damn good. Shut up, Dimitri. Shut up, Dimitri.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
And that's how you double down on the D. And that's how you double down on the D, by the way.
There you go. There you go. Yes. Especially for never mind. Especially for the men who think.
Damn, I'm on the floor tonight, Dimitri.
Hey, look,
what do you got?
I'm saying the men who think they're throwing the D, and obviously the only thing that they have to offer is that money that's paying for the P. And if they didn't have that money, they wouldn't have none of the P. I hope y'all get my little semantics.
No, I don't.
Well, you don't, Touré, because you're a married man.
Go ahead, Dimitri.
You got one bed.
Go ahead, Dimitri.
Go
ahead, Dimitri. Mute your mic.
In-house.
Go ahead, Dimitri.
No, listen.
These men wish they had what you had in-house, Touré. They got outhouse and they paying for it. That is the Joe Buddens, the Paul Pierces, the Cam Newtons. These are the dudes who, if they didn't have their money, they wouldn't have their honey. If we're going to call it what it is, we're going to call it what it is, Touré. You in the position they want.
The Trumps and the fat-ass ankles.
Trump as well. If Trump didn't have the money, he wouldn't have the honey.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Frita, for coming through. We love you. We appreciate you. We're going to have you back on the show soon.
Thank you.
Moving on to the main topic, family. Tonight, we're going to have a conversation that's long overdue when we talk about Black fatherhood. For some people, the first image that comes up is not love. It's absence. It's abandonment. It's broken promises. But the truth is that narrative was never the whole story. It was never the true story. For a lot of Black men, that was not their story at all. There are single Black fathers out here raising full households, doing hair, helping with homework, bath time, holding down 2 jobs, and still being treated like ghosts in their own kids' lives. So tonight, we're going to pull back the curtain and get into it, talking about the lies that shape the myth, the systems that hold it in place, and the men who are breaking it down every day just by showing up and asking the realest question: are Black fathers, especially single Black fathers, finally being seen? Or are they still being punished for a story that was never theirs to begin with? Let's take a look at the stereotypical deadbeat dad video.
Ms. Lovett, you are in court today to prove Mr. Hilton is the biological father of your 2-month-old daughter, Winter. You claim that Mr. Hilton has denied your daughter since birth and has also abandoned your other 4 children. You say the stress of this entire situation has been devastating. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Hilton, you claim you are certain Miss Lovett's daughter is not your child because Miss Lovett was in a sexual relationship with another man weeks before you learned of her pregnancy. Is this correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Lovett, you claim Mr. Hilton's denial is hurting your family. Explain.
He's a deadbeat dad. He doesn't take care of the kids at all. He does nothing. I've lost everything. I lost my house, my car. I'm financially, I'm just destroyed because he just want to handle his responsibilities.
Mr. Hilton, those are strong allegations.
I'm not finna take a baby that's not mine. I love my kids, Your Honor. I got 4 other kids, but, Your Honor, I'm not finna do that. That's impossible.
Really sad to hear about the situations. I don't know who's right, who's telling the truth, or who's on point, but it's just really sad, that whole situation. Dimitri, according to CDC studies, Black fathers are statistically more involved in their children's daily lives than white fathers and Latino fathers. We are not necessarily living in the house, but we are present in the daily activities that our children are part of. We are full, active fathers for the most part. Take a look at this video about that.
Out of all men that have children, Black men find the most happiness in fatherhood.
Come on, man. Talk about it.
For one. And the second thing that they found out is that Black men that have children actually experience a higher level of happiness than Black men without children. That's the part that I found really, really interesting because there's no research on parenting, especially with Black people, right?
Absolutely.
And it's even less with Black men. So
Facts.
It's one of those things where it's like, yo, like, this is not a fatherhood pod, but we damn sure come on here and we will knock against any stereotype about Black fathers because we know it's not true.
Dimitri, what do you think about what he said about children making your life better as a father?
I wholeheartedly agree, like entirely. Like I got a 5-year-old son. His name's Logan. My son has been everything to me. Actually, very transparent, which I've always been via social media. And last night, this is right hand of God. Last night, in my dream, I don't know if you guys ever experienced something like this, but I was pouring down. Right, I was leaking in a dream, and reason being because my son asked me a question, and I remember it so vividly about getting older. Why can't I do this? I'm in 1st grade now. And my mind went of how he's been there for me since being a baby and how I cherish just him being a child so much that growing older makes me sad. And to the degree that he's been everything for me. He's been a sole source of happiness. And I think there's this rhetoric that Black fathers get. Like you said, what's the statistic is? We get attached this negative connotation because it's all people choose to talk about when we're actually very present and very happy. Now, I'll admit, me and my child's mother has always been on a 50-50 custody schedule, one that I created, one that I enforced. I remember originally fighting to go to court saying, because she moved on with a new man and I was okay with it. But I originally remember mentioning to her that I'd like to go to court about it to make sure there's nothing that can take me away from my son. I was the first to change a diaper. I was the first to wash him up. I was the first. We get this narrative that we don't want to be parents when I think that's absolutely false. And my son is my sole source of my happiness. So I love it.
Having children definitely fills you up. You know, you feel responsible. You feel like, you know, just you're doing the right thing in the world. And, you know, it never goes, you know, the thing you're talking about, my child is going away to college in a month. And I have moments when I'm like, they're not ready. And I'm like kind of freaking out, like we're going to leave them in this place and they don't change their clothes on a day-to-day basis. They don't, you know, brush their teeth on a day-to-day basis. They only shower when we kind of twist their arm to do. And I'm going to leave you in a place and they're going to college in Rochester, is 5-hour drive away. I'm going to leave you here. You don't like what happens with, you know, and then there are days when you're like, they are ready. And I'm so excited, you know. And so you go back. So I don't actually cry because I am socialized as a man in America to not do that. But I feel the sadness of if I could cry because like, oh my God, like this. But then, you know, the kid is taller than me. So it's like, you know, it's time for you to go.
Touré, we need a session with just you and I to unpack why you feel like you cannot express emotion through tears. Because you've said that multiple times on this show. You book a session with me this week because we got to unpack that, brother. That's going to take more than 2 talks. We need a session, baby. We need a session.
No, I know. It's like something I know, and I couldn't even. I want to talk about, but I could think about why. I don't know. I don't even know.
Touré, I have a question for you. When you hear Dimitri say how. And I want to applaud you, Dimitri, because you are doing something that you're doing a lot. But one thing that I really like, this is the lawyer in me now talking. I like the proactive effort and intentionality on securing a joint custody order on the front end. Because oftentimes by the time a custody order is put in place, for the sake of both co-parents having access to the child, it is on the back end of something very contentious. Something very horrible has happened to lead to that outcome. And I believe, and I know a lot of people don't like courts involved at all in parenting, but sometimes they can be essential tools to ensure access to the child is unfettered, despite the up and down feelings of either the mother or the father, right? I think we see this right now playing out in real time with Halle Bailey and her child's father. What is it, DDG or something? So my question, though, is to you, Touré, generationally, right? Because you and I and Dr. Bryant are of a different generation than Dimitri. Do you think this younger generation of Black men are doing a better job, essentially, not necessarily of being better fathers, but of maybe being less afraid, less ashamed, of availing themselves to these types of tools to make sure that they get access to their children, whether they on the good with the baby mama, the outs with the baby mama, she's moved on or he's moved on or what have you?
I feel like I see more dads who very much want to be part of the child's life no matter what. I think the generation above me, they were 50-50 if they would stick around for the kid. My generation and below, it's like, I got to be there for my kid. I love my kids, even if I'm not in the same house. I think Dimitri's story is more typical of his generation of fathers that like, whatever it takes, I'm going to do that. But Dimitri, like last night in the chat, one of our super fans, Real Estate ABC, said men want to feel wanted as fathers versus feeling needed. I wonder how you feel about that. I definitely feel needed, don't really care about the wanted. It's like whatever I can do to take care of you, that's what I'm here to do. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't feel I have a need to be wanted. It's not about being wanted. For me, my child, sometimes I actively hear him saying, "Oh, Daddy, I don't want to leave." He's such a dad's boy. Like, he's always been that way. It's just who he is by nature. And he be saying, "I don't want to leave." My encouraging words are, you only get one mother. You got to value this. You got to spend time with this. And my thing about it is, it's not necessarily that I want to feel wanted. I'm not fighting for that. The need I have is already predetermined. It's already pre-written. You're just like you said, your kid's going away to college. That is what your need supplies. Your need pushes them to a direction you didn't get to. My son's not a junior because I didn't feel like my name was strong enough to give him when he was born. So I gave him one of his own. So now I'm looking at this kid who's in the most developmental stages of his life. He's looking at me saying, "Dad, I need you." My son randomly comes to me and say, "Dad, I love you." I very much so disagree with the narrative that it's about feeling wanted. But if I can touch on this, there is a lot of men who don't want to be a father unless they're with the mothers, which is out of want. I want her to want me to be a dad. And that's not how this works either. And I just want to speak on the disadvantages of what this whole 50-50 thing does. There's a lot of moments you miss. And I think if for people who know me, for the love of drop it in the chat, you know you've been here. I've never in my life dreamt of being a dad who's single. Never in my life did I want this. I think I fought very hard to go the strong opposite the other way. But, you know, character matters when it comes to people. And just like to Mrs. Ebony's point, I was under the Prevention Act because feelings fluctuate. You know what I'm saying? How you feel now and where you want to be now may not always be where you want to be. So I encourage all men to take the preventative maintenance route in terms of making sure there's nothing anybody can do to come in between you and the connection you got with your child.
And I want to ask Demetri really quick, what do you think the disadvantages are of not living in the house with your child, like having that separate home parental dynamic?
Just things I've seen. Well, it makes it harder to parent. It makes it harder to be the enforcer or be the person who says you're going to follow these rules. Because the moment he leaves my house, he goes out and do. I got a call from his mother the other day. He's starting to talk back. And I'm like, I haven't seen that side of this kid. He doesn't do that over here. There's something you guys are missing in terms of, you know, and I don't want to call it fear, but in terms of repercussion, just for being out of a child's, you can't be an adult. You're not an adult. Don't speak like an adult. But the thing about it is, the others, you can't always maintenance or supervise who's around the kid. So you don't have a great influence on his. You don't have a great guard of his influences. He may be somebody you would not approve him being around, and there's nothing you can do. But that's something very early on I had to toss my hands up to. I'm not one of those men who say, don't have this person around you have to trust the person you're co-parenting with. Because if not, now y'all fighting for a whole different reason. But you miss major moments. Like, I've been fortunate enough to where, like, my son's first tooth fell out over here. I've been fortunate enough, so I was the one that get to play the tooth fairy, but I don't have him every Christmas.
How much are we paying for teeth these days, Demetri? Because I'm about to have to be in that game myself. And I heard these teeth were going for $20 a pop. What the hell is going on?
Tooth fairy might have slipped 50.
You're going to find out all that soon enough.
I'm going to find out right damn now, Torre, on Truth Talks. How much, Demetri?
The tooth fairy might have slid like a 50 under his pillow. I have a really well-behaved kid, really well.
A part of what you're talking about is that parenting is kind of like the fire department in that you don't always know when it's going to happen. You might be just sitting there, everything is calm, and then suddenly there's a moment of need, a tooth has fallen out, I stab my knee, or a moment of joy. Oh my God, suddenly we had this great moment brushing our teeth together or rubbing you down after taking a shower or whatever it is. Moments that aren't planned, the PTA meeting and the game out, the soccer game, that's great. But there's these little moments. His tooth fell out and we celebrated that. We didn't know that was going to happen. So those little moments, and so if you don't live in the house, this is why the Nick Cannon situation makes me sad, because the children are in 6 different homes. Yeah. There's so many impromptu moments that you are missing. And I don't know how you get back to that, but Demetri,
I'm stuck on $50. Is it $50 just for the first tooth or every tooth thereafter?
You know why I gave him $50? I looked at my son the night his tooth fell out. He was so excited. First off, we did the string on a door trick because it was already
right.
Yeah. We did the old school.
Yeah.
But I looked at my son and I said, baby, what if the tooth fairy doesn't have any money to give you? I said, what if they only bring you $1? He was like, that's completely fine. I'm grateful for whatever I get. I say, I got a 50 in my pocket. Really going under the pillow.
Counsel, you'll find the economy that your child exists in is determined by you. You are the Milton Friedman of your child's world. So if your house teeth are $5, that's your world. His house, they're $50. You don't have to, do the edit, the allowance.
Mama got 5 on it. Yeah, Mama got 5.
Demetri,
wait, and I want to
feel Demetri to be loving. Hold on, how does it feel, Demetri, to love your child deeply, and yet there's these layers of legalization that in between
before you go there, Torre, because I don't want to get off topic. Before you go there, I just want to touch on what Demetri said about missing those moments, because that is what triggers me so much about the broken homes, is the moments that are missed. And then on top of that, if those two parents go on to have more kids, all of those kids start to feel like, wait a minute, is daddy or mommy getting more moments with the other siblings? Is daddy or mommy missing out on what I have because they're actually attending my sister's graduation? Is daddy or mommy, paying more attention or investing more in their birthdays or in their times? And don't let it be a child who actually does live in the home with your new wife, right? Or her new husband. Then daddy or mommy's waking up every morning with that child. And that child is getting something that you only get one time if you get it, which is that every morning, the walks to the schools, the Daddy picks me up from school every single day, and I get to go home to him. I get to see mom or dad cook. I get to see mom and dad engage and interact and show a representation of their love that gives me the value and representation of the love they have for me. So there's so many moving parts that parents unfortunately don't get when there's a broken house, because that child doesn't get to see the normalcy of two parents, and they always feel the deficit of, well, is daddy over there because he wants to? Is mommy over there because she wants to? Why is it that daddy or mommy can't be here with me? Because kids don't have the insight when they're 1 through 5 and sometimes 1 through 10 to rationalize why isn't that parent in the home. They start to take on a little bit of shame that says, was I not good enough for them to stay together? Was I not good enough for mommy or daddy to be present? And so that's something I deal with a lot, really quick, Dimitri, in session with my young kids that I'm in session with, that say, hey, well, I mean, I have shame because there was nothing I did or could have done to save the marriage, to save the relationship.
And to look at the other side of the coin, just me, there's an extreme amount of guilt that comes along with finding my wife one day, having more children, and Logan not being present in every waking moment. That bothers me.
That's
because I never want my son to feel like you're only in this other household because dad didn't want you here. That's not
Come
the
on,
truth.
Dimitri.
And I say it all the time. The greatest thing I can ever do for my child's mother is one day she look up and she don't want to be a parent no more. I will gladly take on that full responsibility. I never minded. I was the doctor dad. I was everywhere I needed to be. We got the shots. We got the teeth. We did everything. And the thing about it is there's an extreme amount of guilt that's going to make that leaves my children or my son feeling like he's not part of the nucleus. And I hope, Ms. Wiley, when you do come along, that you can help me rationalize that in his mind, because it's super, super important to me. And I've been trying to live with that. So
wait, Dimitri. Absolutely, Dimitri. I love you for keeping it so fucking real right now, because so many men, this is a lot of the platforms of the men's whose podcasts or shows I was on, I was trying to depict is, wait a minute. Yeah, you can be the best father you want to be, but it does not take the place of being the father in the home, period. There's guilt and there's shame that child clothes himself with, that they're going to have to process at some point. If they don't unpack that is going to be a huge factor, a huge dysfunctional factor in their relationships with themselves as identity and with the person they decide to be in relationship with. And I love that you said that, Dimitri, that as a father, you said, will my son look or feel the shame of, am I not good enough to be the nucleus of daddy's family over there? Am I not good enough to live in the house like my other siblings do? Why am I not there? But you as a father, Dimitri, are going, son, I've wanted you to myself all your life. I wanted to assume responsibility of you all your life, but I got to share you with your other parent who's not in this house. That is a lot to process for a child. It's a lot to process for parents. And people don't take the brokenness of a home. They don't take it serious enough. There's a lot of layers to that stuff.
Dimitri, how does it feel to love your child through the lens of, well, we have this court-ordered, lawyered-up situation that sort of pieces together what we can and can't do? How does that come into the situation for you?
Actually, the thing about it is, and don't be disappointed, guys, but the moment I attempted to take it into a legal direction, which was right away, I was called jealous. I was told I'm only doing this out of emotion I have toward this specific situation, which was completely false. I didn't want your new love saying, okay, baby, let's move to Buckfuck, Tennessee. And now I'm stuck in Chicago looking like I have no rights to my son. I'm not going to be able to live with that. So it never happened. But I do want to commend his mother, because she's a great mother. In terms of just being a mother, she's an incredible mother. Our relationship didn't work, but she's always been a great mom. And the thing about it is, I'm okay with that. If we don't have to get technical or legal or whatever the case is, or I don't have to love through the legal lens as Torre have depicted it, I'm okay with that, as long as we can sit down at the table and say, this is what needs to happen. I have my receipts. I have my school. I have everything needed to when we go to court. The trips we've been on, the passports we've gotten, every single thing. And I advocate for every single parent. Do so. Keep up with what you're doing.
Hold on one second, Tori. I just want to speak to the custody piece. Because I think it's very important that what Dimitri is saying right now, that I hear him saying, is that oftentimes we as a society, and certainly we as a Black community, I think we kind of boogeyman custody agreements and child support, right? In the same way that often we boogeyman what other legal document? Prenuptial agreements. And I think, and I'm not saying this to say that everybody should go this route, but I think that if we destigmatize what Dimitri has done and not make it because he's jealous or because he's controlling or because he's trying to do this and hurt her, what if it's just a brother that says, let's mitigate the risk? Let's take it off the table that there will be any conflict as it relates to our joint and mutual continued access to our beloved child that we share together. And here's the shocker, y'all. It doesn't always have to be adversarial. Sometimes it could be your lawyer. The best case scenarios, and I used to always try to start from this place, there are things called consent decrees of custody, where Dimitri and the child's mother can sit in agreement without adversarial lawyers and just say, hey, we can go through the court-appointed magistrate or mediator, and we can agree Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, this, and this, and this. Both sign, judge says, clerk stamped, and now we have a consent decree. So these things cannot always look so horrid, always be so sad, and they really can be very protective and helpful documents.
Doc, what role do women, sisters, play in the baby mama drama that happens a lot of times when there's multiple parents in multiple households dealing with one child?
You mean what role do they play in choosing that circumstance, or what role do they play in it being effective and healthy?
I mean, I'm not sure that baby mama drama, whatever that means in different households, is healthy and effective and efficacious for the people in the situation.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. If the baby mama is causing the drama by holding the child and puppeting them, right, as bait to say, hey, if you don't do this, then you don't get to see your child. That is a mother who is doing a complete disservice to her child. That is a mom who does not have her child's best interest at heart, because at the nucleus of this co-parenting relationship, it should be a conversation around what's best for this child. And let me put my feelings to the side and not let my feelings cause problems. That's where you say, listen, I have to surrender to the reality that I am a single mama, that I am co-parenting. And if I don't have the proper tools, let me get it by seeking wise counsel. Let me get it by going to therapy, getting a coach, or talking to a couple who I see co-parents in a healthy way, and how are they blending this? And I think this is what's really important. A lot of people want to break up and have kids and co-parent, and they don't want to accept that we are still a family. I don't care how far y'all go into marrying somebody else, how far you want to go into other countries. You have a child together. You are still a family at the end of the day. You should also be concerned with the well-being of that mother, and that mother should be concerned about the well-being of that father. These two people have to remember that this child is becoming a product of their environment. That child is in learned behavior of watching the mama and her well-being and watching the father and his well-being. Your main focus should be, how can I be a contributor to the peace and the well-being of my co-parent partner as much as I can, because my partner has to parent my child. So if there's anything I can do, Touré, if it was you I was co-parenting with, I'd be asking you if there's anything I can do. I would never. But if so, I would say, if there's anything I can do to help you be a better father, please tag me in, because it's not about me caring about you. I care about my child who's going to be in your presence. And I want to make sure you are healthy, that environment is healthy. And this is also, this may be off topic, but I'm going to say why I don't date men with kids, because I would support him supporting the mother. And I don't want to be with a man who's supporting another woman outside of me. But let me say it again. I would support that man supporting her, because she is raising your child. If she needs help with bills, if she needs a car so they're not having transportation issues, baby, you got to help her out. And I am not going to be the woman who is sharing you, which I call polyamorous, because you got a family over there. Now you're building a family over here. I'm not into polyamorous. So I'm going to have to say no go. But you should make sure that you are taking care of the well-being of the person you're parenting with, because it affects the child.
Touré, can I ask you, what is the biggest struggle you've seen or experienced, like as a Black father, whether it was emotionally, financially, court systems? I don't know the entire situation, but what about you?
When your child comes to you and says that they're trans, that's a big deal. And you're like, how do I deal with this? How do I understand this? How do I support you? How do I put aside whatever personal feelings I have and say, what do you need? And how do you see the world? And how do I get behind you and support you, even though I don't fully understand? That was really hard. And it's an ongoing, hard thing to deal with. And yet, you know, you go into the world and you protect your kid. I mean, when they had an incoming student forum at the college, you know, it's like 500, you know, incoming families talking to the school. And, you know, I'm like, you know, is it safe in front of 500? Is it safe for trans kids? Is there a community of LGBTQ folks who will be here to stand with my child as they, you know, develop through college and this journey? And they were like, yes. Okay. You know, and I'm like, that becomes a central concern for me. So, you know, you're dealing with this major shift, a new name, a new perspective on the world, new sort of clothes that you want to wear, as you're also moving toward leaving the home. So what are you going to do in this journey after you've left and you don't see us every day? I don't know. You're going to come back for Christmas and look unrecognizable? I don't know. So all
how
of this.
are you going to come back to Christmas, period? Right? Because there's a whole generation right now of parents of young adult and grown-ass adult children that are recognizing the consequences of their good and challenged choices while parenting that are now affecting what the adult relationship looks like. And I don't think there's enough time spent, period, but certainly within Black parenting households talking about this, that the vast majority of God is good and life is long, which we pray for, you'll be in relationship with your two children, Touré, much longer with them as adults than you will be in relationship to them as child adult. And how everything that in the right, that's remarkable, but so simple when we think about it. Same with you, Dimitri, same with me.
Absolutely.
Liberty and I will be adult relationship companions for far longer than I will just be raising her as the adult to her child. So everything I do from now to 18 and some change, that's going to dictate whether she even does come home for those holiday breaks.
Absolutely.
It's very complicated to be a single Black parent. We talked a lot yesterday about some of the demonization that single Black mothers get. What about single Black fathers? The whole symbol of it. Do we get more grace, less grace than single Black mothers get?
Oh, we get no grace. You mean as terms of man being a single father himself? I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Okay, no, that's a different question. Sorry, I interpreted a different question. But before I answer that, I just want to say thank you to you, Touré, and congratulations to you because thank you for being a man who does not force the ideologies of himself onto his child. That's a very hard thing to do, and that's something our generation suffers from tremendously. Anytime you don't see your child pan out for what you want them to be, you end up disappointed, and then you want to be less of a dad. So kudos to you for that. But I actually believe that when people see good single fathers, I'm gonna say good single fathers, I'm saying bad ones. I think I've experienced an overinflation of goodness than I deserve. I'm a dad, and I love being a dad. It is. I've always dreamt of being a dad, but I don't deserve the credibility the world is giving me. I don't want to be bright because everything else is dull. I don't want that. I don't want you to call me a good man because half of the world appears not to be. I'm a good dad. Okay, great for being a good dad. Tell me Happy Father's Day. That's it. I don't need the praise of saying, oh, and I absolutely hate it because we praise when men are good dads, but when you see a good single mother, that's what she's supposed to do. That's not what she's supposed to do. That's not how the world should work. So me personally, I've seen it from an end to where I'm praised for being I recently received a book of me and Logan's memories in cartoon form from somebody. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful sentiment, and I'm grateful. But don't over idealize what we got going on because that guy didn't show up. I'm grateful, but that's just me. Me personally, I think women have it a lot harder when they are forced to be single mothers.
It's because you're seen as the exception, right, Dimitri? When we see good fathers, especially good single fathers, we see it as a unicorn. It's seen as exceptional. We are not accustomed to seeing it, sadly. Not saying that is the case, but that's the perception. Versus when you see a good single mother, that is the standard and that is the expectation. And it is only when a woman deviates from that standard of being a good single mother that we then demonize and punish her. And it's a really good awareness point, Dimitri, for you to name the hypocrisy. So I appreciate it.
When I see a single mother, my thought is, mom never leaves. Mom is the planet on which you exist. Dads shouldn't leave, but sometimes they do. They might. But mom, no matter what, she's going to be there for you. I want to bring in another father, though. Friend of the show, Gerald Griggs, been on the show a bunch of times. He's a new father again. How old is your new baby?
I have a 14-month-old and I have a 17-year-old.
Amazing. Wow, you started back. You was out and they pulled you back in. Oh my God.
Yes.
Earl wasn't done. He wasn't done.
You're a father for the second time. You're also in the court system a lot as an attorney. You see a lot of black men dealing with a lot of traumatic situations. What do you think is the perception these days of black fathers in our community and in the mainstream America?
Well, let's just push back on something. A report recently came out that 70% of African-American fathers are in their children's lives. So let's push back on this bad black father image that's been put out in the media. Let's also push back on the fact that, a single black father is the exception for being, exceptional and not the rule. As somebody who was both in a marriage and has been single and now is in a marriage, all raising children, we have to understand the child didn't ask to come into that situation. But once the marriage breaks up or the relationship breaks up, your only duty as a father is to that child.
Yeah.
To the child you brought into this world. And as a child of a parent that did divorce, my parents did divorce at 16, I saw both ends of it. And I saw a father who fought to be in my life and a mother who was open and accommodating to be in my life. But many of my friends who are fathers have to fight exceptionally hard. And that's one of the reasons why I don't handle domestic relations cases, because I do see the bias inherently built into the system to disproportionately take black fathers out of the home. So what I just want to add to this conversation is there are thousands upon thousands of good black fathers. And Dimitri, I push back on that a little bit. You should accept that, because the media is trying to put a narrative out there that black parents, black fathers are absent when we are the most present, regardless of our relationship status. So I just think that we just have to be a little bit more nuanced in this conversation, because there are thousands upon thousands of black fathers who are out there trying to be in their child's life, trying to be there, trying to, co-parent. And co-parenting is a chore. It's a job. I love the fact that, my ex-wife and I have grown to the point where we can co-parent. And now my current wife is great friends of my ex-wife, which is weird, but that happened. But you got to work at it. It's a job. And, anybody that comes into that situation has to understand, I love my 17-year-old. That's my heart. But it was not easy to get to the point we are right now.
Gerald, wait, the ex-wife and the new wife are good friends?
Gerald,
the ex-wife and the new wife are friends? Wait, hold on. The ex-wife and the new wife are friends?
Hold on.
That is what I'm talking about that polyamorous.
Okay.
That's
polyamorous. Not polyamorous.
I'm not polyamorous.
Gerald knows I love
polyamory.
I love one woman. One woman. Yeah.
It's not polyamory. Polyamory is intentional.
Yes, it is.
Look,
Yes,
Gerald,
it is.
when we talk about the reasons why some black men are not showing up for their children, we talked about the 70% who do, but there's 30% who don't. That's lower than other races, but there's still a number of black men who aren't. But we're talking about mass incarceration. We're talking about a world of difficult job prospects for a lot of black men, high unemployment rates, mental health issues, being shut out of parenting decisions, the way that the court system, as you alluded, is biased toward women. How many black fathers are not really absent, but sort of pushed away by the systems that we have in place?
I think a majority of them are, and this is coming from my own personal experience. I don't have a lot of deadbeat black father friends. Like, I look for them. I'm looking for that guy who I just don't want to be a part of my child's life. And I don't see many of them. And the ones that I do see, I see a host of brothers coming around him and saying, hey, bro, regardless of how you feel about your ex or whatever happened, that child did not ask to be here. And you wouldn't want to be in a situation like that where you are, removed from your parents' life because your parents can't get along, or there's some issue that happened way before you were born, or even as you were being born, or something else that has nothing to do with that. Don't put that on the child. The child deserves to have a healthy relationship with both of their parents, because it takes two parents, even for the single parents, and I've been there, it takes two parents to raise a child, and we have to get back to that particular ethos. Now, a lot of us are making decisions, and I respect the decision of anybody to be a single parent, but we have to remember parenting is difficult, and it helps to have two people engaged in productive parenting.
It does, but I don't want to erase the many amazing, especially single Black moms who are doing amazing work and raising great children. I mean, Ebony, I don't want to leave the notion of, well, you got to have two parents in the home. It's great if you can have two parents in the home, but there are amazing homes where there's only one parent in the home.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I respect, Gerald's perspective, and he's entitled to it, but obviously I disagree, which is why I chose voluntarily to bring a child knowingly, not circumstantial and something happened. No. I made every intention around this because I wholeheartedly believe in my competence and my God-given favored ability to adequately raise my daughter alone as one parent, and this is why it's a conversation.
Doc, how do we get to women who make emotional space for men getting to a place where they really see the men emotionally rather than just being like, man up, pay up, shut up?
I think holding space and understanding that a man being able to be in contact with his emotions is healthy. Vulnerability is also a strength. And I think learning to find a man being able to share his emotions with you as an act of him honoring you, as an act of him respecting you and saying that I trust you. And so you have become a refuge and home for me. I think women need to find that attractive and understand that that is also part of a man's love language, being able to, share his emotions with you and not have to just stop at the superficialness of, we can be physical together, which is an external exchange, but we cannot be internally in a relationship. I think the internal space of emotional exchange is where the intimacy comes in at, and that in turn makes for a better relationship.
Ebony, do you see the whole toxicness of the situation when you got to go to court and there's bias against men in the court system? And does some of that push good men out and make them want to walk away from the whole parenting situation because they feel like visitors in their kids' lives, or they feel unwanted?
Well, I'll go further. As somebody who briefly practiced family law, and I do agree with my co-counsel here, it is the most egregious practice, and I've defended murderers and sex offenders, and the family law was the worst. Some of them literally run out of money. Can we just talk shop here? It costs oftentimes to have a full-on custody battle and go toe-to-toe and have a hearing and a modification hearing and a modification hearing on top of that. And I have seen oftentimes either party, but we're talking about Black fathers today, simply run out of cash to continue the legal battle, the legal effort to have access. I just want to speak on something, and this is personal, so I'm going to be vulnerable, but it is something that there is a cohort of us adult children, and this has been women and men, where because of social media now, we get to see oftentimes a situation where our fathers, who might have been absent in our experiences for one reason or another, but who have been father of the year, so to speak, active, present, and wonderful fathers to other children of theirs. And that is a real specific pain point, right? When you see a man, in our case is a Black man, who is a wonderful father, but wasn't that wonderful father to you? And for we're all acknowledging no fault of your own as the child, the innocent child who wasn't asked to be born and just innocently arrived. But I hope that's something that at some point the culture can really discuss, how painful it can be to see the cherry picking for, again, could be circumstances, could be the mom kept the kid away, could be the court system, could be that the father didn't even know he had that kid until later in the journey. But the watching, bearing witness to a wonderful Black father who wasn't able to provide and be that for you.
Gerald, I think the struggling single Black mother is seen as strong. I certainly see her that way. But then folks are like, well, the struggling Black single father is a failure, Dimitri notwithstanding. What do you think about that whole perception?
I think we just have to reframe the conversation because neither person is a failure. I mean, situations could put you in a situation where you're a single father, a single mother, or you could do it by choice. But it shows strength because, again, it's very difficult to raise a child by yourself. And so for anybody put in that situation, I don't think we should demonize them. I think it is a very strong sign of a very strong personality, very strong personal characteristics to take that on and to be successful. I'll give you an example. Again, at 16, my parents divorced and my mother became a single parent and she didn't miss a beat. She continued to raise me. She continued to have a productive relationship with my father. It was kind of strange. They were friends for 30 years. She was there at his deathbed and they always professed their love for one another. They just couldn't live in the same house. And so I don't think we should demonize that. Everybody's situation is different. And I think everybody should be lifted up for trying to be the best parent they could possibly be. But let me be clear on this. There's no book on parenting. You have to figure this thing out, and it's not easy. So my hat goes off to everybody that's doing it.
What do you mean, Gerald? There's tons of books on parenting. The shelves are groaning with books on parenting. I read Dr. Poussaint and all these other people before my child came and be like, there's a lot of, oh my God, we did the whole 1, 2, 3 method. I mean, you do that? Like we just
did any of that work? Did any of that work when you're faced with the actual challenge of a living human being who you have to care for in your face? You didn't go to the book. You were like, I got to figure this out. The child is up at 3 a.m. yelling, and I don't know what to do.
Oh no, the books definitely helped a lot. I mean, there's certain situations where they get it wrong. You can't do a psychology for every individual. Each child's going to be different. But there, Dimitri, we've talked a lot about stepdads. I want to touch a little bit on the potential of a stepmom in the future. At some point, there's a woman, you'll fall in love and you'll try to want to put somebody into your life, into your family. How do you think about that vis-a-vis your son? When do you introduce your son to somebody you love and want to, take the next step with? Like, what does he get a vote in who you marry?
How cute.
It's quite hilarious. Thank you for manifesting.
It's cute until it's not, Cheyenne. Really serious talking.
So I've been
that's just me. Go ahead, though.
I've been manifesting Mrs. Wiley for a very, very long time, as we all know. But for me, my child hasn't met anybody I've been dating. And he's 5 years old now, and I took a year off of dating when a split happens, a year and a half sometime. Then I started dating, maybe he was 3.5. He's 5 now and he still hasn't met anybody. But for me, his say matters more than anybody's. When I say it's not I need you to like this person, but how do you feel about this person? And I'm going to ask him in basic expression, like, I'm very in tune with my emotions, so I aim for my child to be, and we go over this and we study these things. And how does this person make you feel? Are you comfortable with coming to them and communicating with them? And when that time comes, it'll absolutely be a woman I deem worthy of that exact honor to me, because it's an honor in my right. But the thing about it is, it's God's timing. And once the time is right, then I'll absolutely introduce those two people, and we go from there.
Dimitri, there's a stepdad in your situation, right? Another man who's occasionally, right, in charge of like disciplining or like talking to your son, right, and telling him what's right, what's wrong. Gerald, do you have that?
Yes, I do. And it's a very difficult situation. So similar to Dimitri, when I went through my divorce, I wasn't dating for about a year or so. And it took a while to bring whoever I was dating into my daughter's life. And interestingly enough, she was the one who said to me, Dad, you don't know what you want. You have the woman right in front of you. And my now wife was who she was referring to. So it was interesting that at 8 years old, she could, give me psychoanalysis of me. And so I think, you have to be careful who you bring around your children. And so that's why kudos goes to Dimitri, not bringing anybody around until it's that time.
But the question for at least for the two people who have step parents in their lives, how do you deal with that other man in this situation, that stepdad, disciplining your child? How much say do you have over how much room do you give him? Like, are you comfortable with another man disciplining or leading your child?
Well,
16.523.1 governs that in Georgia. So if he steps out of line, he knows what's going to happen.
What's that mean?
You have reasonable corporal punishment in Georgia. If you step over the line, the law will step in, and so will I. So we've had that conversation.
What is reasonable corporal punishment by the law in Georgia?
See, that's
what
why
the judge deems it to be, right, Counselor?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well,
I mean, it's not a legal situation. Are you okay with another man hitting your child?
The blink told me all I needed to know.
Yeah, he answered it, Torre. He answered it.
Mm-hmm. And
I answered
it. Tree?
No. The thing about it is, I'm gonna wrap this really quickly and make it really quickly. My situation was a little weird because the moment the split happened, there was an introduction to my child. Like, you know, because the timelines kind of overlapped a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I heard a little more, right? So the introduction there happened before I ever met the man. Before I knew, it wasn't another 2 years until they got engaged that I did meet the man. And my child was already living, and I was, unbeknownst to me, he was already staying with so for me, it was a very difficult situation. But what happened was that man never wanted to meet me. That man avoided me, but that man avoided me from things she's uttered out of her mouth to him. So the thing about it is, now, if we're speaking on now I've formed attempted to form a rather great connection with this man. I want to know, you know, we father brothers in this. We got to be, because, and there's never been a discipline.
So you trust him?
I trust him now. I do trust him now, because in every case, he's always shown me, hey, this is what's going on. I want to know how you want to handle it. Or this is what's going on. I want to.
It's your kid?
Say it one more time.
No, this is the other man. This is the man.
The other man calling me about my son in every regard. Anytime outside of my household, when something happens with my child over there, I get a call every time.
But he said, does he hit your kid, Dimitri? Does he discipline?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. Ebony, that's the point for me. The deeper point in the question, that in the Black community, when we talk about discipline with children, that means corporal punishment. Gerald went right there. I didn't say corporal punishment. I said discipline. And we immediately think corporal punishment. I don't think anybody should ever be hitting the children at all.
And now you, Torre, you are brilliant, and you are conflating two completely different topics in what you know that production has told us to wrap. So you better wrap this shit up. Let's go.
Before you start a whole nother.
Because we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. But we're not this episode.
You're gonna open up Pandora's box, because
not this episode.
The box is already open, Gerald. It's already open. We need to have the polyamorous conversation, because I know you and I disagree on it, but it is definitely family polyamorous.
We also need to, Cheyenne, we need to have the kid gets a vote on the dating piece too, because it can be cute at 5 and 8. That was beautiful what y'all shared. Let's try it when the kids are 16 and 18. It looks different.
And they're rebellion against
They're
everything.
feeling threatened.
Nobody.
They're feeling so possessive of their parent and so threatened by anything.
Even at the state of your heart, you have to put your kids' needs ahead of your own.
That's not a real need, Torre. A need for your child to manipulate and control.
No, a need for your child. No, a need for your child to feel comfortable and at home. When they are at home. If they're not, I don't feel at home with her. Okay, well, I have to.
But Torre, we got to go. But Torre, know that is distinct from I am rhetorically saying I don't feel this and I don't feel that as a manipulative mechanism to ensure that I control what I possess. That is something different.
I think you'll see when you get to the teenage.
I don't need to see. I was the stepmama, so I know I can know what it looks like.
That some children are going to do that, and the parent can suss that out. I mean, I think the parent, you'll know your child better.
You're right. That is around discernment, and that is another
you'll
episode.
Understand. You are trying to control me. Oh my God!
Oh, wait, we bringing kids in.
Look,
we bringing in the children.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Hi, baby.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Hi, Logan.
How's Daddy doing as a dad? Is he like good daddy, or is he okay?
Awesome.
Good daddy.
There you go.
I got a question for the fellas, though. Before we wrap, last question.
Yeah.
What do you guys feel as men we should be encouraging, like the world and the people we deal with, as far as the women or our guy friends? What do you want them to know about being a Black dad?
Man, love on your kids, man. Love on your kids. I wish my father was here so I could hug him and kiss him. Love on your kids.
You mean physically, like
physically
touching
love
them?
on your children.
Yes.
Yeah, no, for
I love
sure.
that.
I definitely,
Yes.
I think there's definitely been Black men in previous generations who were lacking on the touching.
Yes.
Hug them, kiss them, like put your hand in their hair, like let them like feel you. Like this is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Yes,
Devour them.
yes,
Get a little extra, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
They should feel your love, but they should also hear it. They need to hear,
Absolutely.
I love you. You are great. You know what they also need to hear? I'm sorry. They need to hear
Facts.
daddy say, I made a mistake, because they want to know that you are humble enough and fallible enough to recognize when you make mistakes. So the dad, like my dad, who would never apologize, and they confuse me over the long term, like I'll be like, I'm sorry, I messed up. My kids will be like, you don't say it fast enough. Like as fast as I can muster it emotionally, I will say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And they need to hear that, and they value hearing that. So
if it was me, I'm gonna tell them, you got to remember that they too are human. Like I know as kids, our parents used to tell us, you're just a kid, your opinion doesn't matter. Or sometimes I learn a lot from this little dude. I learn a lot. And their imagination takes limits off of things we often put limitations to. I've realized there's nothing I can't do if he thinks I could do it. You become stronger in the mind when you feel like your kid, like you said, love on them, but also realize you're loving a human who's going to one day have just as strong viewpoints and opinions on the world as you do today. So keep loving on them.
Dimitri, let me tell you, Dimitri, you and Logan got my ovaries jumping. My ovaries are like, go.
But what do you guys feel? I didn't ask. Miss Ebony and Dr. Brown, what do you guys feel that Black fathers need to hear?
I think you need to hear more of, we see you. We do not believe narratives that tell us otherwise. You don't need to be perfect to be valued. And even if a Black single mother like myself doesn't have an active Black father in my home, know that it is honored and revered, the valuation of Black fathers in our Black community. And it can't be overstated.
Hey, can you call the nanny and tell her to bring in your kid?
No, I'm saving Liberty's on-camera appearances for something that I can monetize, but thank you.
That's right.
I'm just fucking with Torre, Cheyenne, because that's
what about you, Dr. Brown?
I just think that I think that y'all need to be heard. I think heard without a rebuttal. I think that that's it. I don't think there's much to it, but to be heard, no rebuttal. Let you guys' issues be your issues. Now bring in our issues, hold space for you. And then at the end say, okay, did you want me to listen? Or did you want me to help you and assist you in doing something? I think that's all y'all need. I think y'all don't need a whole lot of lip and conversation. I think y'all over that shit. You need to be heard and supported. And what we doing, baby? And where we going?
I am so glad that Logan joined us on the show today. That was awesome. He can come back anytime. Maybe he'll come back and read the intro next week. That's it for tonight's Truth Talks. Listen, this wasn't just one conversation. It was a confrontation. We set out to demystify Black fatherhood, but what we really uncovered was how deep some of the wounds go and how little space we give Black men to be both strong and soft, present and flawed. So here's the truth. If we don't start seeing Black fathers as whole people, not just headlines or hashtags, we're going to further destroy the Black family. In the same breath, to all the Black fathers who aren't stepping up, come on, guys, you got to come in here and get this joy, because there is nothing like hugging your children and seeing a little person who looks like you and they need you. So show up for them. Do better. Be present. Children are a blessing. No matter how they got here, they need us in their lives, and we got to show up for them every day. This is more than parenting. This is a cultural issue. Let's get back to raising our sons and being an amazing example for our daughters. This has been Truth Talks, the stories they don't want you to hear. We're going in every night, just like this. Like, subscribe, and keep supporting us by telling a friend to tell a friend. Check us out every night, 8 p.m. EST and 8 p.m. PST. Truth Talks will be back tomorrow night.
Good night, y'all.